right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Thursday event. I'm so glad to be here with you today. What an amazing day at the Capitol we had yesterday. I just want to say a very big thank you to absolutely everyone who participated in our day at the Capitol. What a just a tremendous day, and we really put on a big event. And one of the things that I know some of our new participants said to me when they had a chance to participate in this TRTA event is they really had no idea that TRTA was such a big organization, and so that was a very common theme. I got a lot of items that I know we want to cover. This is going to be a little bit of a question and answer session, questions that I was asked during our day at the Capitol. And I tried to write down some of the main questions that I was asked during our event. And I want to click off some of those answers. But I just wanted to say, as we get started here, what a great activity, great event. If you were there yesterday, go ahead and post in our comments, what your experience was like, and I know others would be glad to see it. And so I have a smile on my face because I already have those memories coming back about all of the folks who came in, and I want to go through some of our observations and kind of where we are right now in this process. I would be lying to y'all if I didn't say we were all still a little tired. But the work goes on, the legislative session carries on, and we had a lot of things that were happening today, other bills that we've been following, and so we're rolling along. So let me first of all start with some of my thoughts about the 2 days worth of events. This was our first day at the Capitol that we've had since 2019, I believe. And so in 2021, we obviously we did not have an opportunity to do one of those because the session was so different due to the pandemic that was going on. And so on Tuesday, we had about 400 retirees that showed up at our first day's worth of events. A lot of folks that were coming in from long distance and wanted to stay overnight, and they had spent some time at the Capitol during that day. And then we had some of our guest speakers, Ray Perryman, who's worked on so many TRS brochures, documents, information, state demographer. I know a lot of our folks enjoyed listening to Dr. Perryman and his presentation. And I was pretty happy to see about 400 of our members coming in the day before. It did make me wonder how many folks might actually show up the next day. But we had a great time just talking about how the day at the Capitol was going to go and what the expectations might look like. Our members really enjoyed interacting with each other, asking questions, providing feedback about things they were hearing back at home, which again, I think inspired some of the questions that we're going to answer today. But it was really an amazing event. All of our leaders that were part of that, I just want to say thank you so much for what you were doing. And the work that you were putting into getting folks there Tuesday, and then working so hard to get people there on Wednesday. Wednesday was the actual day at the Capitol. We had about the 400 that showed up the day before, and then we had about another 8 to 900 people that showed up for our day at the Capitol. So our official numbers look somewhere between 1,200 to 1,300 retirees that showed up at the Capitol. And during that event, we really had an opportunity to engage with our elected officials, and it gets me to some of the questions that people were asking our staff, our leaders, our board members. And then, a lot of the questions that were coming into me. And so I want to start off by answering the big question that most people were asking me. And the question is, will we actually see a bill passed for retirees this session? I know that there was a lot of people that approached me and essentially said, "Hey, we believe that we had an opportunity to pass a cost of living raise for retirees last session, and when we didn't win on the cost of living raise last session, it really, I think, has put this idea in our members' minds that even when all things look like they're going well, something can happen and then it turns out the bills may not pass. And I would say that with any legislative session, there is always something that could potentially occur that would cause these bills not to pass. Um, there's still, a month, more than a month worth of legislative session, legislative activity that is going to occur. And I have to tell you, I cannot, and nor can anyone else promise right now that all of the things that we hoped will come to pass will. But what I can say, and I think that the people who were at our day at the Capitol will be able to attest, is that the Texas legislature is uniformly, unanimously behind the idea of helping TRS retirees this session. And I was in the Senate for most of the recognitions and had an opportunity to meet with the lieutenant governor before we went out and listened to the actual announcement and kind of the recognition of our members who showed up the day at the Capitol. And so, just sitting and talking, the plans for retirees from all of the leadership, House leadership, Senate leadership, they absolutely want to do something to help retirees with a COLA and with a stipend of some kind. Even so much so that when the lieutenant governor came into the Senate chamber, he brought in a can of COLA, held it up, and said, "I think it's time for a COLA." And the environment inside the Senate was just absolutely electric with activity, support, legislators talking, chair of the finance committee, the person who's worked so hard on TRS issues over the last, oh gosh, years, Joan Huffman, said that the idea of getting retirees a COLA and some kind of additional stipend has unified in a bipartisan way all members of the Senate. I can't think of too many issues that are going on in the legislature right now that every single person can agree, no matter what the party affiliation is that you have, that they want to do something about it. And so they have an opportunity to do that this time. It was said yesterday that the total appropriation that is going to be in these budgets for TRS will be over $11 billion for this biennium. So just really awesome to hear that kind of support. And so when I answer the question, will something happen for retirees? Again, nobody can promise that we know for sure exactly that this is going to happen by the end of session. But we have tremendous support. The House, I sat outside the House, both of the galleries were full. Roy, you can flip back to that picture where you can show the members that are watching. There wasn't a seat left in the gallery in either the Senate or the House. Absolutely took over every single place. There are a few people that are standing up, and you can kind of see in the right corner of your screen a few people that are standing up and others. That is absolutely not allowed on any other given day. But because there were so many folks in there, the Texas Retired Teachers Association and the members of this organization pretty much took over the Capitol Gallery. And when the Speaker of the House, it was very interesting. I sat behind the gallery. Roy, you can come off that picture. I sat behind the gallery, and the Speaker of the Texas House said, "I want to welcome the retired teachers of Texas to the House," or something like that. And the place just exploded with cheers and yelling. And the members that showed up brought their A game. And if you did not have a chance to be there, I really am very, very proud and happy to be able to tell you that most of these folks that were showing up and screaming and cheering and meeting with legislators, and if they had to, to convey a sense of urgency and need and talk about why retirees needed this, why we need the help as soon as we can get it, what more can be done. These folks represented the needs of all retirees. Those 400 or 500 people that are in the Senate gallery that day and the House gallery that day, they were carrying the burden and the weight of 400,000 plus TRS retirees that are truly in need of getting a benefit enhancement or a raise and stipend. And they took that story and they visibly represented it in a passionate, energetic way. And it left a tremendous impression on House members and Senate members. And so that's my first, the first question I'm still trying to answer is, will we actually see something passed for retirees? I believe the answer is that all indications right now are positive, that at the end of this legislative session, we will see good news coming for retirees. Okay. So then the next major question that I was asked during this, our day at the Capitol, are the bills set in stone? In other words, if you look at the two major bills that are moving through the legislature, Senate Bill 10, which has already passed out of the Senate, House Bill 600, which is pending action in the House, are these bills set in stone, or can they still be changed? And they absolutely can still be changed, modified. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about what that process is ultimately going to look like. But I think it's important for you all to know that your feedback that's coming into us on a daily basis, whether it's through social media, comments that you make on these videos by watching it through Facebook, and you're making your comments and you're putting your likes, or on YouTube, and that feedback, it's coming in, and then of course through email and text messaging communications. We're taking that feedback, and TRTA members that were here yesterday took that feedback to those elected officials. And so I think the bills have some major concepts that are getting more etched in stone. For example, the idea that there is going to be a cost of living raise, and that there is going to be a stipend of some kind. But what those parameters look like, I think those are still things that are going to be in flux a little bit. So as I mentioned, there are two bills, Senate Bill 10 and House Bill 600. And I had quite a few people ask me, well, what happens if both of these bills pass? So ultimately, both of these bills will pass the chamber that they originate in. So the Senate bill has passed the Senate, and it's been sent to the House. In this process, in this legislative process, bills will pass one chamber, get sent to the next chamber, and then that chamber has an opportunity to vote on that bill like it is, or to modify it. And a lot of times that sense of modification comes as whatever the other chamber may have as their idea, simply putting it in place of that bill that came from one chamber or the other. So let's just carry this example out for a second. The Senate bill has come over to the House, and the House has their own version of this legislation, and they could take their version of that bill and put it into strip out the text of what the Senate has, and then put their bill in it, and then pass that back to the Senate and say, well, if you really would like to get this all accomplished, we've sent you our bill, you can just simply accept it. And the Senate was probably pretty particular about the bill they already sent over, and they said, well, we liked our bill, and so now we're going to have a conversation with the House about what are the differences in those bills, and that process is called the conference committee. And so at some point in time, we're going to see both of these bills pass their chamber of origination. We've already seen it in the Senate. The House is going to pass their version. Clearly, there are differences between the House and the Senate, and we've talked about those on different episodes. But both of the bills have a COLA. Both of the bills have a stipend. The House bill has some other items. The House bill has the connection to the constitutional authorization and the HJR. And so there are all of these pieces that are still moving through the process. And so they're not set in stone. The bills are both going to pass, but only one bill will actually pass as an agreement between the House and the Senate. So there will be one bill that ultimately authorizes all of the activities that we believe and hope will pass this session for retirees for the benefit enhancement and all of the other items for TRS retirees. So the other questions, some other questions that have been asked. In the event that the legislature does adopt these bills and pass a raise for retirees, when will that raise occur? And so the earliest that cost of living raise will occur will be in September or October, in that time frame of 2023. And so the state is on a fiscal year. The state fiscal year runs September to August. So the next state fiscal year begins September 1st of 2023. So all of the legislation that may get passed during this session is affecting that 2-year period of time starting September 1st, 2023. And depending on how the legislature puts all of this together, they may provide those resources necessary to then allow TRS to make those increases, those cost of living increases, sometime in September or October. I always hedge a little bit because there's processing time. TRS has to receive the funds. All of that has to occur. That could take a period of time. And when it actually shows up on a person's retirement check, we'll get more information about that as the months unfold. But it would be in the beginning of the next fiscal year. Now, there is, as I mentioned earlier, in one of these bills, it's the idea that if the legislature adopts all of this enhancements and all of these changes, then they may require these changes to go to the voters in November to officially vote on that on a constitutional authorization through what we call the HJR. It's a House Joint Resolution, which essentially says, hey, look, we set the money in the budget, we've passed the authorizing bills, but we are asking that the voters then officially stamp approval on this for the benefit enhancement, the legacy payments, the gain sharing, the stipend, all of that kind of tied together in what the House version is. And so if that is the version that ultimately prevails, it would be that the voters would decide in November, and then there's a series of events that would occur for when the COLAs would go into effect, and the supplemental checks or the stipends. Those usually have what we've seen last time we got a supplemental check is that they paid it in the next calendar year. So we talk about the start of the fiscal year in September, and that may start that clock on when the COLA could occur. But if you're talking about some of the retirees that have been designated to receive that stipend, that extra check, both of those bills talk about having that check being payable after the start of the next calendar year. And we had a big tent of folks that were out there all, talking about the bills, and we had legislators come out, and, I just said, hey, what's the reason that the legislature not always, what's the reason that the legislature may push those stipend checks into the next year? And of course, the answer is it's taxes. If you receive that check in the next calendar year, then you have that check in hand for an entire year. And then your taxes on that, the income tax on that, will actually be something that you'll kind of take a look and plan for that'll be payable by April 15th of 2025. So that's the plan, I think, on stipends. And so we'll know more as the bills continue to move through this process. I hate to say let's wait and see, but again, the bills still have a legislative process that they're going to go through. So another big question that I heard a lot about is will they change the checks so that others may receive it? That was a question that a lot of folks asked. If you've been a TRTA member for a little bit and you've been to other days at the Capitol and you didn't have a chance to come to this one for one reason or the other, and I have a lot of friends that I know would love to have been here and just couldn't be for one reason or the other, and so the reason I'm telling all of my friends about that who couldn't be here is we asked how many of you is this your first time that you've been at a TRTA event? And there were a lot of raised hands. And so we're always happy to see brand new members getting involved in this organization's activities. And we had a number of more recent retirees that were showing up. And so they had on their mind the question of, hey, I totally support the idea of some of our more senior retirees getting a bigger enhancement, but inflation has impacted me too. And, is it possible that the legislature may still change that stipend check so that more people get it? And my answer to that is, of course, it's possible that the legislature can still make that modification. We are talking to a lot of legislative offices. I know that you certainly are calling legislator offices, and those folks are contacting us and they're asking us questions about it. And so there are 181 members of the legislature. And a lot of those folks are hearing that same kind of feedback on how to potentially modify, improve, make changes to this bill. We will see. And so as we go through this process, we'll see if that check will stay like it is. Senate version, $7,500, 75 and over. The House version is $5,000, anyone who's 70 and over. And I know that legislators are asking, as are other retirees and other folks, can that check be spread out more? And so I can only say that I know that offices and other folks are taking a look at that, and we'll see how the process unfolds over the next month and continue to work on it. Okay, last two questions that I'm going to cover today, and I told Roy, or I always call Roy our producer, but Roy's on the other side of this screen and kind of watching things. I told him that I was going to try to get this one done in 30 minutes or less today, just because we have schedules kind of stacked up here. But big question that I had, last two questions. What are the next steps? And so the next steps for this is we're going to see that conference committee process kind of getting a little close. So officially, the next step would be for the House to take Senate Bill 10 and either vote on it or make changes to it, but essentially take it through the process, or to move House Bill 600 over to the Senate. So that process is going to kind of move forward. My guess is that because one of these bills has already been voted on, House Bill 600 and all of its content is probably going to move in a direction of saying, hey, let's take Senate Bill 10 somehow and move our House Bill 600 into it, and get that to the House so that they can take a look at it, ultimately vote on it, send it back to the Senate for either agree or disagree, and then go to a conference committee. But that's the process that's going to kind of unfold. There are a lot of big issues that are still moving through the legislature. We are benefiting from a pretty strong level of support from Republicans and Democrats, House members and Senate members. There are a lot of, I'll just say, more controversial topics or other topics that people may have different points of view on that are still moving through the legislature. And so our issue is being worked on behind the scenes. It may slow down just a little bit. As we get closer to the end of session, it's going to pick back up. I've said you all are pros now that you've been watching these videos for the last however many weeks we've been doing it. That this is going to go all session long. Our issue is going to go all session long, but it's a major priority, and it will go all session long, and ultimately we'll get to the end. But that process will hopefully yield the best bill possible. So those next steps would be moving us towards a conversation on the House floor, and then ultimately a potential conference committee if that's what's going to occur between the House and the Senate on this bill. And then when will we know what is the ultimate outcome? Which I already said a few seconds ago. This is going to go to the very end of session. We're going to be working on this until middle to late May, and my hope is that we're all going to find out sooner than later. But my guess is that it's going to take us still a few more weeks to get there. Now, I'm going to take a look at some of these other questions that are popping up because I know they've been showing up over here on the screen, and I've just tried to stay, on the questions that I had yesterday that I thought y'all might have some questions about as well. But I'm going to take a look at those in just a second. And but I want to make one, big observation about everything from yesterday. You all, by coming to this event, by supporting it from the chapter level, if you were not able to be here, by making phone calls, sending emails, putting it on social media, reposting the pictures, talking to your legislators, showing up here, going to the Capitol, climbing the stairs, waiting on the elevators, waiting in the lines. I mean, all the things that you did, you essentially put a whole lot of gas in the gas tank. I mean, if you think about how this legislative session unfolds over 140 days, people can get real tired, and these issues can sort of wear down to the point where you just feel like you're trying to get across the finish line. But yesterday, that event, the way that the TRTA members came into Austin with that high energy level, just a tremendous uplifting spirit that I think has pushed on to every office in the legislature. And I had friends of mine that had been elected officials and said that they'd been coming to TRTA Days at the Capitol for several sessions, and just absolutely were blown away by the number of people that showed up, by the enthusiasm, and by all of the support, good questions, and just that high energy level. And so everybody that I know, and I think just about everybody who's in the legislature, has a renewed sense, that second wind of making sure to stay focused on getting this accomplished for retirees and trying to find ways to make it even better. And so really pleased with the outcome and all of the energy and the work that went into it. Y'all did an amazing job. Just cannot tell you how grateful we are for the turnout, for the buses. I saw so many retirees getting on buses that had taken them 6 hours to get there in the morning. They spent a few hours here in town, and then they were getting on the bus and going back, another 6 hours. There was a bus from Williamson County where the retired teachers were driving the bus. So, we have the absolute best members of any organization out there. And if nothing else, my hope is that somebody who is not a member of this organization, they don't see, just all of the stuff that we may do as an organization, but they look at what our members do as volunteers, sacrificing their day, their time, their energy, their resources to show up here and put on a show like they did yesterday. Awesome. And I hope that it does encourage more people to join this organization. So, all right, I'm going to take a quick look at some of these questions. And I saw one. One said, "I guess retirees under 70 don't need money in today's economy." I understand the message. I know that that is something that folks are taking a look at. So continue to remain focused, positive, knowing that people are talking about the raise, the stipend, and are there going to be other adjustments to it throughout the legislative session? Um, just taking, let's see, we need COLA. So somebody said we need to call at least 15% and a check for at least $2,000 to $5,000. The absolute, I get it. I understand. It is it. This is not. This is the beginning of what the work needs to be done to fix this whole entire situation. I've said on this show before that retirees have lost as much as 30 to 35% of their purchasing power. Even the most recent retirees have probably lost 12 to 14% of their buying power just because of the nature of inflation. This is it's a big challenge for the state of Texas. We can't fix it in one session, but what we are getting is the recognition of our legislators that we have to start somewhere. We need to do better, and those legislators are saying this message themselves. So we're working as hard as we can, and we're trying to get as much as we can for everyone. And I know that you all understand that it doesn't make it easy, but I hope that we all know that every day that we're here, we're working to do the best we can and get as much as we can. Let's say some more of the questions. Just a lot of good comments from folks that were here. I'm so appreciative that you all were able to be here and be part of this. I'm going to take a look at more of these comments and questions as we go throughout the session. And as I look at others, we'll either make Facebook or social media posts out of them. Other comments, I understand the 2% COLA. People are talking about that. I get it. Those COLAs vary between 2, 4, 6, or 2 and 4. And again, I know that when you're trying to affect 440,000 plus retirees, it takes a lot of financial resources to do it. So I'll just reiterate, we're working as much as we can. A lot of other stakeholders are working with us, and we're trying to make that happen. Of course, we know that we're seeing so many budget items being addressed this session. And there's a lot of money that is in the system. And so we're trying to harness as much of that for retirees as we can. I think the legislators are doing a very good job bringing up the big issues for us, which is a COLA and using more resources. And as I've said before, the one major item that we have asked for this entire legislative session is a seat at the table. And I believe that the legislators in both the Senate and the House, leadership in both the Senate and the House, are inviting comments and listening to TRTA, which if they're listening to TRTA, that means they're listening to y'all because we take your comments to these elected officials directly and they're responding. And so we're working on it and we're going to continue to work on it. Y'all, I know that it's been a busy couple of days. There are a lot of folks that still have questions about what will this actually look like at the end of the legislative session. And again, I'll just kind of repeat, we're working to get as much as we can for as many people as possible, as fast as possible. So let's believe that we're making a difference because we are. Let's believe that the energy level and the enthusiasm that we bring to this issue will continue to inspire legislators and leaders in the state to do more and to get more done. Every leader in the legislative session yesterday engaged with retirees, from the governor to the lieutenant governor to the speaker, every member of the Texas House, every member of the Senate. You all had an impact on all of them. They all came out to see what was going on with retirees yesterday. And so we're going to continue that work. We're going to continue that level of energy and enthusiasm, and we're going to bring it every day. And so thank you so much. We're going to be live again next Thursday and talk about other items that may come up. And if you are wanting to take a break from some of these Thursday afternoons, let me know. If we're doing them too much, put it in the comments. If it's just the right amount, let us know. We're happy to know what y'all would like to see more of. So thank you so much. Y'all have a great rest of your week. And again, thank you everyone who had an opportunity to participate, those who showed up in Austin and those who supported us from your local chapters back home. Y'all did a great job. Thank you very much. Have a great day.